Flavor Flav.
Yes,
Oh, looks so studious.
No idea.
Your place.
no, it looks like
Oh
somebody
yeah,
sitting here.
maybe. I couldn't even see it with the array of water bottles between them.
Някакъв ритуал, нали, на ходжерски, а след това на български казва салдинка. Това беше много ми хареса, някакъв кръглик.
Това също беше, защото
Да, лесно такова, защото и аз си помисля, че е някакъв просто сутрешна молитва нещо. Дядовците имат едни специални, той е такова някакво. Не се дали, съм се защото те дядовците, като се обяснях, тези неща нали казваха, ние християни.
What's up? Fits. I got it.
Колко беше това?
Yeah, I was going to say it. I don't remember which one it started in, but
Which one?
Budweiser up there. Bobby!
they had a commercial where literally that's all people said.
Харпнат каза ли му? Айде сега сам, давай.
It's amazing. Ay.
No, we don't have cat at the moment. I used to when I have kids, which is pretty much the same. But I live, my brother lives in the apartment just below and the cat go in. So he uses cat, but he uses
Part-time cat.
Съм записала на мисълта на ученичка. I'm smoking mentors. Яко е. Има някакво да.
I think it just
Is it me? It might be me. Yes.
Ah, yes.
It's so nice when you have someone a question and they just answer you. No, like just like I have a question about this, and they're like, oh yeah, here's the information. It's just so lovely.
Yeah, it's lovely of them, of course. But let's meet in like 10 years or so. I will ask you about that again.
Well, it's just it's contrasting with other people in my life.
Okay. That's why you enjoy it.
Secret message and the guy next to me.
Say that's
I'm so pathetic. Sorry. I thought it's the only person that I know. It's me. The only person that knows that is you.
I recognize that.
But now the two of you know something.
Yeah, the two of us know, yeah.
Darn it, I missed it.
You need us to start?
Now I could not invite us.
Yeah? Everything is on?
Oh yeah. Let me double check. Yes, and we have sound.
Okay. Because last time we recorded everything, but the sound wasn't there. Just me. Yeah, that was the. Now the idea is to edit this sound with last year. Okay, so hello, welcome. I'm Alessandro. This will be the boring sliding part. 20 minutes of that, just to put everyone on the same page.
and then we play game, and then we design game. Okay, so this is the plan for today. I think in the afternoon we are going to move to some magic place over there, they told me, so we trust the magic and the process. So this is me. For those who was listening to my story yesterday night, this is me, 30 years old, my first adventure ever, and I still remember that like one of the most incredible experience of my life. Since then I founded Chaos League, which is my collective, together with other friends, and I'm a LARP designer, I'm enthusiastic about game, and more than game, I will say more about playfulness. I think you already know the difference between game and play. To give you that in a very short description, when my parents, because they want intelligent, smart game for their kids, bring the huge Lego box, my brother was the one going to destruction and start to build the thing, and I would just go for the puppet and create story with that. So this is how my mind worked better. So I really wanted to play all the time, but not all the time I was able to catch the rules. So sometimes I made up my rules. So what we are going to do today, I put more effort in the GIFs than in the text, because once again is how my mind works. So we are talking about making a story playable according to the topics of this year. So we take that and try to make that playful. Before we start, just a small description or definition. What do you think is a story? Please, let me know. If you have questions.
We've been there like 5 times by now.
I know, but I need a definition for today for LARP purpose. So I cut down in 3 points. Of course, there is 3 million possibility to do it, but we need something to create our LARP today, okay? So my very easy thing is I divided in story, plot, and narrative, okay? For LARP purpose, how my mind works, and hope that will be interesting for you. So story is what happened, okay? So the story of Romeo and Juliet, 2 persons that want to love each other, but the family didn't agree. The plot is how do you organize the event. They met, then there is a problem, then is a resolution. And the narrative is how you tell this story. Basically, it's the experience of observe this story and plot. Okay, so if we talk about LARP, and today we are going to design LARP, story is what happened within the fictional world, okay, in our created setting. The plot is the group, is the ensemble of situation, conflicts, revelation, plot twist, and how this goes. And the narrative is mainly the meeting between design, character, action, and so this is the general idea we are going to cut down today for today. A very quick presentation. We'll do that through role-playing game. I will be super quick for this part. We know what is role-playing game. Start from chainmail and then D&D. Start tabletop. People imagine storytelling around the table. Today, the most common and most modern definition of role-playing game is a role-playing game tabletop is a conversation mediated by rules. Okay, so we sit down, we talk. It's a game where we talk, but we talk only in certain specific moment, and not everyone is able to say whatever they want to say at the right time, the right moment. This is another possible definition from a game designer from Italy. So it's a fictional world where you have a character immersed in a narrative universe, and this is what is very important for us today. The 2 words, authority and emergent way. Okay, we will see that the story we are going to play are emergent story. Okay, they are not pre-made, they are suggested, and then there are some tools we have to give to the player to navigate through this in order to have an emergent approach. Because if it's not emergent, it's not sure that it is going to be playable. There are several media to telling stories. Every media has its own pros and cons, and if you want to tell a linear story, movie, books, they are way better than role-playing. Role-playing is the tool if you want to explore a story and have the experience of changing that story. So this is make very simple what matters for us today. And of course, from these guys, from this thing, we come to this one. So game books, LARPs, video game, a lot of popular culture were modified by role-playing game, of course. So there is a lot going on still today. And if we have to sum up very briefly, the legacy of role-playing game is now more and more common to have collective storytelling. It's more common to sit down or stand up or go into a museum and know that there is a story that requires action from the participant. Okay, this participatory culture is more and more rising up. And also the idea of co-creation, this is very important. Usually also when we go to museum and other kind of experience, now the buzzwords are immersive and interactive. Okay, in the case of LARP, role-playing game, and LARP, which is a subcategory of role-playing game to my understanding, is we are not striving for interactivity, but for co-creation. Interactivity means that, very simple example of interactive in a museum, you push buttons and stuff happen, okay? But it's not emergent. You are called to do that, which is called discrete agency. You can do this or this, like in game books. You can choose among a pre-made pattern, okay? While co-creation, participants are required to actually create something, okay? It's like in this example with the button, is in interactive is pushing the button. Co-creative is you have the possibility to create a third button that does something that you decide that happen within the rules, within the fiction, of course. And then more and more games became also cooperative. I'm not even sure whether LARP is a game or not. I'm still unsure because the playful aspect is very important. So I think it came from game culture, but can be different from time to time. And of course immersion, we were talking yesterday while in the pool about immersion. Now is the word that means everything and nothing at the same time. Let's put it that way, is the deepness of the make-believe. Okay, it's as much you think you really are in another world, you really are another person. So then what is LARP? LARP is an acronym that stands for live action role playing, which is in very simple a role-playing game made embodying your character, using your body, using the space, and using most of the time more playing your character than rely on rules. There are rules, but rules usually are more fluid inside the fiction, while in Dungeons and Dragons, for example, you embody your character, and then where is a fight going on, you basically stop to acting and start rolling dice and then back again. So this back and forth in LARP usually is not that strong. And I will go 2 seconds evolution of what is LARP. Now LARP is this sort of role-playing game made by stand up from the table and leaving that out, but of course it relies on a very long, incredibly long tradition that stands in the human nature to make believe, to play pretend, okay? So comes from a very old ritual. This was the naumakia, which means both fight in Greek, and it was done in Greece and also in ancient Rome. In ancient Rome, have you ever seen Piazza Navona?
Yes.
Okay, Navona means big ship in Italian, okay? Because this square, twice per year, was just filled up with water, and they reenact both battles from the ancient time in the old Roman Empire days. But the thing that is interesting for us is after reenact the story, people get bored and start to actually play. So you have sometimes reenactment on all battles where the people that back in the days lost, won, and vice versa. They actually play a reenactment without knowing the outcome, which is very interesting. And then she's the daughter of Enrico VIII, Eric VIII. No, that exists. She was super into games.
Carrie.
Yeah, she was super into games, and of course you want to please her in order to please the king. So when she went for example, to visit other noble families, they organized basically LARP for her. You know, she was like running around and like having a stroll in the garden, and they create like in secret impromptu LARP, like, oh, you know, a character coming out on the hood. We need, princess, we need your help doing that. She was like, okay, let's do it. And then you have like giant moving statues and like 100 actors. Oh, please, you know, blockbuster just for one participant because she's the daughter of the king. And of course, then we have Globe Theatre and psychodrama. I'm not saying that those are related to LARP, but they were like the zeitgeist, you know, that was in the area before the 70s. And of course, still today, LARP are used for education purpose and simulation, military, school, medic profession more and more. And then this is also a super interesting thing, how do you say that in English? Is a summer camp for kids. Okay, it started in Hungary in the 30s, where a Montessori educator had to keep all these kids, and she went up with the idea, what about make character, costume and play for an afternoon? And they did it, and they were super excited that they did it also the day after, and the day after, and the day after. And then when the camp was over, kids stay in contact and write letter to each other for an entire year, world building the rest of the story. And then they went all back next year and portray character using the world building they created by email. And then the sessions were longer and longer. Basically, this thing is still going on. They just stopped 2 years for the war, but it's still on. Also in the US, you have this amazing name, I like it very much, Society for Creative Anachronism. So they were specialized in reenact facts that never happened. Okay, and of course using real crafting and portray the character for days and days. And then we have the modern LARP, which is starting from the, it's not sure, let's say end of the 70s, beginning of the 80s. There are two LARP that are, I am the first one, no, I am the first one, I will show you, but this is not very interesting for us today. But let's say is the modern LARP, as we call it, is like the play pretend that merge with pop and role-playing culture. Those people that were interested in sci-fi, in fantasy, start to meet in convention and then use those settings to create what today we call LARP. So fantasy, science fiction, horror, and the meeting convention, and then fan communities, basically the established role-playing game. All of that had an impact to what today we call LARP. Those are the first two documented LARP that were in the US. But some people argue, I quite agree with them, that was mainly a battle game. Okay, then this battle game start to incorporate names, fake names for the participant, which is not exactly a character, but let's say it's the first step to having a character. While Treasure Trap UK 1982 was more advertising like this is a LARP and this is a role-playing game and come and play. And they rent out a castle in the US, was the Peckforton Castle. And advertise also in magazine and stuff. This is a picture took for a movie you can find on YouTube. The BBC did a special on that because it was like this crazy thing at the time, and so probably this is the first LARP as we intended LARP today. What is super interesting, they rent a castle, but inside the castle they didn't play a castle. They play like it was a dungeon. Because was, you know, the Dungeons and Dragons mentality, you can only use dungeons. So instead of using the castle, they say, okay, this is the first room and this is the monster. So this is a funny also example for you to understand that you can redesign space as much as you want with LARP. Okay, the make-believe will use.
Yeah, like with Treasure Trap, it's more like it's kind of more like a modern immersive experience, in that it's very linear. You're basically just like going in and fighting. You're not really doing that much co-creation.
No, and also they have. I'm trying to put that short, but they have rules that are more similar to tabletop than this. And it was also about they had referees, out of game referees, to see whether you won the battle or not, to avoid possible like cheating and stuff. And they put some red paint on the weapon. That way if you are touched, is clearly visible and also looks like blood. So this was what at the time was an idea what LARP design is. Today, of course, is a bit more. Then also there are different schools. I will present you just Nordic LARP very briefly. Basically, what happened, what Nordic LARP brought to LARP scene is imagine that you can play your new themes, not only the dungeon, not only what was at the time. Experiment with form and content. Today we are playing and design short format LARP that came a bit after. Mainly LARP were like camp LARP, bigger LARP, while now we know that we can, half an hour we can have a very intense experience because we are more aware what design is and what LARP can do with only few elements. At the time, of course, was too early, let's say. And then emotional intensity, we imagine, for example, that we can create a game that is mainly there to impact your emotion more than make you win or make you just sleep in other people's shoes. And then documentation, Nordic LARP scene was the first LARP scene that really takes serious the idea that is an ephemeral art. If you don't document, we'll just lose everything. So they start doing conference on a massive and systematic way. They still doing conference, books, articles, and more established in university and working with institution. Now it's no longer only a Nordic LARP thing, but I think to my knowledge they were the first to really say it's something we have to do, otherwise we are not going anywhere.
I think the first Knut Punch was like
97.
97,
yeah. So this year will be 30 years?
30 years.
Yeah. Very short about myself, just to let you know who I am. I started with my group in 1992, and this is the amazing town of Pescara, where there is, in the 90s there were nothing to do. As I usually say, there were just two things that were very possible at the time: heroin and LARP. And we choose the one was more addictive and more costly, so LARP. And so with my friends we have this idea of we need to survive the provincial town. So let's fuck up reality because it's not interesting, and let's create our own world. And then we started. And I will show you only the last 5, 6, 7 years of work because otherwise it's too long. This is a LARP we do in person, and this LARP had an introduction which was played before the LARP, and we're going to play in this first part today. It was about the water shortage, so we asked the player, we imagine a world where there is not enough water for everyone, which is sadly is still is already that way in some part of the world. You live in a Western society, you can have all the water you want, and in big part of the world is not that way. So we asked the player to say, what about living with 3 liters of water per day? At the first you say, okay, it's more than enough. Okay, doctors say drink 3 liters, but we are not that good. I don't know, I usually forgot to drink. When I drink 2 liters per day, I'm like, whoa, okay? But then a Western person use 150 liters of water per day per person. A shower is 50 liters. A washing machine is 50 liters. A dishwashing machine is 60 liters. You know, our life, to not speak about clothes, AI and everything. So we use water and we don't even know how much we use it, okay? So we say, what about using 2 liters per day? Of course, there were plenty of water for safety reasons. If player wanted, there were plenty of water, but say, play until you say, oh, this is uncomfortable, okay? We don't want to teach people and say, now this is the truth, but you know, we can use LARP to enhance empathy and say, now when we talk about water shortage, for a little moment in your life, for a short time, you experience a bit what it is. So maybe you will talk about that with more consciousness, with more sensitivity. And those were the pre-game part, which was made online. Today we will play that in person, and then there were pictures from the valley we took. It was huge assembly, because if you have 2 liters water per day and somebody steals something, what do you do with this person? How you will punish this person? Just put them in prison and not work? We cannot afford someone who is not working. So force them to work, force a labor. This new society looks very dystopian. So what we can do? So there were these all these social game, let's say, and then of course trying to keep hygiene and everything. And this was the end of the day when we tell them that now they have access to water again, and this was the reaction. Then Bunker 101, I was there 2 days ago. This is the actual bunker where we create this 50s dystopian society. Also some people brings their kids. I bring mine also, so that was very emotional. This was the big computer we create, and of course the ball, because it's the 50s, so you are happy, good American dream, but on the other side, you know, the dark society with scarcity and limitations of freedom and all this stuff. And then every day go to work, and this was the president and the explorer and that were into the tunnel, and then this was the censorship commission and the war room and more exploration into the tunnel. Then we went to the Sahara Desert. I will be very short because yesterday I told enough already about this. But basically we say, okay, we want to play a LARP in the desert, so let's go to the Axel Desert. So we went to the south of Tunisia, and all the pictures you will see are taken during the game. So those are the players exploring the Sahara. Actually, this was an horror LARP set in 1934, but was also an excuse to talk about humanity and what happened between the two wars and the greed aspect of humanity that I want to know everything at every cost. So in this story, we want to stress that doing what you want to do comes with a cost, and you have to be very aware of that. And those are also that was our camp and our camels to bring our stuff, and the sunset and people working, and those were cartographers because we moved during the game from a camp to another, and more people walking in the desert, and the photographer having fun, and a ritual at night because of course it's an horror lab, so why not? The tent to make decision all together. One of the organizers tried to looking super cool. Sacrifice and looking at the horizon and walking more. Then we did Miskatonic University. This is an hotel in Poland, which is used as an hotel. Was an old castle, and we rent that to play an history from 1924, and we imagined that was a university. So we spent a weekend here in this location, and there were students and professors. This was the prequel of the Sahara Desert. Okay, so this is where we decide to go into an expedition, and then if you play that LARP, you actually go into the expedition. Here is where you plan the expedition. And this was the garden, and it was class time, and then it was a strange university, so professor performed also strange stuff during classes, and then meeting, and then this was the professor board, and this was the secret society meeting, and the ball, because the end of academic year is always a ball, and this is a professor doing an experiment on a students. Everything was super safe, nobody get hurt, but the picture looks very disturbing. And this was the rector of the university, and then we did that completely different in Poland. This was the location. We have 13 domes that big, and we create an history of sci-fi that was once again about climate change. In this fictional world, we completely fuck up the planet, which is what we are doing right now as we speak. But the planet was no longer habitable, so we found another planet, and there were a lot of ethical concerns. Is that acceptable to just fuck up your planet and take another one? And even if you do it, how are you sure that we are not to do that again and again? So those people were exploring the planet and see whatever was suitable or doable to take over. And this was the picture of our loved ones on planet Earth. And this was the hallway, and this was the place where they played. And again, it was a big location. So this was the cinema to the general meeting. Those were workplace. Now this place is completely out of this planet. So when we open it, when the owner opened it, and we were like touring, we shoot a video of the location scout. I'm talking with the guy, try to be professional, and all the team behind me is like, don't show excitement, or the guy will raise the price. No, I was like, yeah, it's doable, and that was like. So it's very fun. Okay, so now I will give you a more detailed experience of what you are going to do today by using football example, because because people usually don't like football, people in game, and so I provoke them by using this. So how is possible to make a story playable? Usually we raise up in a world where stories are very linear. The bedtime stories, the fable, everything we absorb is linear. I'm not saying it's not good. I love that too much, but there is also another possibility. So in order to have this, we need to make space, because usually stories are, there is no space in stories, no space for protagonists to act, because protagonists do what the author wants them to do and when the author wants them to do, okay? And now they discover this and they go there. Yeah, it's not sure that participant will do it here. So, how you make space? Are you familiar with the fake 9, el falso 9 technique? I will give you a very short class about what it is. The number 9 usually in football is the striker. Is the one which is closest to the goal, receive the ball and score the goal. Is I don't know, Ronaldo, you know, the guy who's always doing that. Van Basten, these kind of people. The modern football is become also a bit boring, because they say instead of having this, the number 9, instead of heading to the goal, they stop to make the other people go into the goal. That way we have 2 people and we can stretch the team. It's not like an arrow, but it's like more like a trident, you know. So I will show you how it's done, the fake 9. You know, they receive the ball and give the ball to the number 9. So this is the number 9. Instead of going straight to the ball, he stay here and make the other goals. You see, instead of going straight, you just stop and make the other goal. And then it's done. Okay? So, all these complex things to say that in story, when you write story to be played, you have to be way more minimal. Okay? Do less stuff. Because if you do, the more you do, the less the other have space to do it. Okay? So don't strive for your goal, but more give people to the other, okay? So you need to make that playable and to make that emergent, okay? So there is pros and cons, of course, so you have to be aware. If you write a participatory story, probably, and some people also call that participative storytelling or decentralized storytelling, which is also a term I like very much. So what is the problem with that? Because it's not the holy grail, of course. It's just another way to tell a story. The pros and cons. One of the problem is the risk of the story be less coherent, because you cannot exactly decide who is gonna do good, and you don't want to do it. And because maybe some players have different narrative tensions, okay? And also, on the narrative point of view, they are not the best story. Usually, especially they're not the best story to be sell as linear story. If you try to make a book out of your role-playing game campaign, it's very nice for people that can use that story. It's not very enjoyable for people who are not there, because it's not an art of storytelling, it's an art of experience, a living story. Okay, so when you try to tell the storyline of your LARP to someone who were not at the LARP, usually they went like, you're like, can you imagine the king say, now you go to prison, we're like, okay.
Even people who were at the same LARP,
yeah,
might not be interested in your story.
No, maybe they were
experience.
Because that happened when they were not there.
Yeah.
So they're okay. So usually when you want to talk a LARP, usually to talk about the more external part, you know, the location, you know, show you. I was in the Sarades and people get very hooked. If you say, you know, I were a cartographer, they were like, because be a cartographer inside the story was super interesting in this lab, because you know that your decision will say, okay, let's not go west, let's go east. And then when you decide that, very easy, so not very passionate thing to describe, but then when you say let's go east, you see 85 people walk up and follow your direction. With all the cameras, you are saying, I'm doing right, or I'm just fucking up, you know. All these work on emotional level in a way that is very hard to convey to others that were not there, okay? So basically this. And this is why we use it a lot of manipulation and self-manipulation in LARP, but the good way. For example, I don't know if you know this video, it's amazing. It's a guy just dancing, and then nobody's dancing with him, and he's doing strange move, and this looks just a guy which is completely fuck up in a festival, you know, we saw millions of times. By going to talk over the video, and you will see how much this work. One more, two people is already more interactive. It's not, you are not crazy, because at least there is someone who believes in you, okay? So they're going on, and they try to get more people, and it's not working at all. But they go on and on and on, okay? And then more and more weird. But they don't care, they are in a fictional world. From outside is not very exciting. Also, seeing people LARP is not exciting at all. But when you are inside, is the best thing. So all you have to do is to bring people in the bubble, and they bring a third one, you know, with more crazy moves. But they don't care. They go on and they play pretend. You will see the end of the video while you're doing it. Yeah, and then a 4 person, and then 5, you know. And then oh, more people, and then more people, and then more people again, and then even more, you know. And now it's cool. Now why? Because of the power of co-creation. It's not just me being judged. It's all together. In a LARP, you will see there is no line. Your character don't have a prefixed storyline, and there is no audience. And so you don't have to be an actor to play a LARP. You just have to dance together with the other. And it's like karaoke yesterday night. No, 2 days ago, okay? You were the best singer? I don't know. People were excited because they were dancing with you? Yes. And now, as you can see, there are more and more people, and so one is filming and taking picture and shooting movie, and now and now look, everyone running downhill, and now it's the best part of the festival, and it's on YouTube. So the only part of this festival we remember is this. Actually, we don't know what happened. So this is for me one of the best example of what is LARP without spending too much word. Okay, establish new rules, a new social pact, and go on with this. Okay, so. Okay, now we are going to the more practical part and how to make a story playable. Okay, so there are million possibilities. I will give you some advice that we can use today. You have to focus on what element you want to be moving and what you want to stay stable. Okay, so first is leaving space in your story, like the fake 9. Second is use simple stories. Okay, then you can make super complex. Today I will ask you to write, if there is narrative element in your game, that have to be small, and don't be afraid of using archetypes and cliché. Those work very well. If you want people, we will play a game on this very table this morning. Well, I will ask you to portray, to LARP a family dinner. We all know what a family dinner is. Every family is different, but we know what it is. We know the cliché, you know, the passive aggressive mood and everything. So it's way more easy and more fun and interactive for you than this is, and then I create a super long setting, and then it's more complex and not always the best way. So don't be afraid of simplicity, don't be afraid of archetypes. And also compare to linear storytelling, since you need more space and your mental capacity to move inside this space. Don't be afraid to have a slow pace. You don't need million things happen. For example, for a long LARP, you discover your old forgotten friends. Oh, I saw you. Last time was 10 years ago. This is enough for us to play an entire afternoon. Okay, you don't need this and then this and then this and then this. So slow pace is totally okay. And another thing you should be very aware that is something we really want in linear storytelling, but something that can be problematic in LARP, are plot twists. Once you establish the setting, contradict this thing can be disturbing because you have to all the players have to reprogram their expectation, what they have to do. Okay, it's very easy in linear narrative to say, oh, this was this, but everything was a dream. If you do that in a LARP, people are like, okay, what about all my agency? Everything I've done so far is now over, okay? Because a protagonist that only lives on paper will never complain. Real people complain because sometimes they don't know what to do. So you have to make that accessible basically for them. And you have to use your LARP engine and then understand what you want to use, okay? So what I mean with LARP engine, today I decide for you, I choose 4 elements that are characters, interaction among them, interpretation, plot, so the story in his development, mystery solution, and body and space.
I cannot write that fast.
I will do that again. Characters, plot, mystery, body and space. Which means that you can use, when I will ask you this afternoon to write your own LARP, focus on one of these 4 elements as a central element in your LARP. Probably your LARP still will have all the 4 elements, but decide which one is more important. Of course, if you have character, you also have a story, but maybe in your LARP it's more important to embody your character, or it's more important to follow the story. For example, in all the mystery solving games, having a character is very tricky because your mental energy are in solving the puzzle. Okay, this is why general audience very much like this approach. The mystery solving is the most popular. When you take general audience and say, okay, do you want to play a game where you solve a mystery? Everybody, me included, is like, yes, please. Okay, but it's very hard to carry on an investigation while pretend to be someone else, because your real deduction abilities are in place. Okay, and it's very easy to play someone which is less smart than you, but it's almost impossible to play someone which is smarter than you. So I can play Alessandro, I can play a dumb investigator, I cannot play Sherlock Holmes. Okay, so this is why character character interpretation is in mystery solving is a bit on the side. Okay, most of escape room works on this purpose. Okay, it's exciting for you as a person. Okay, then there are more and more immersive escape room where actually you don't even have to escape. You experience an environment which is immersive and then you go away. Okay, the name still stands, escape room, because come from mystery solving culture where you have to actually escape and find all the clue and solve everything to actually get out of the room. Okay, but now the name is less and less precise. Okay, so once again, character, plot, mystery, body, and space. And LARP engine, those are 4 LARP engine, for example, and is a definition of what push the game. Okay, I'm very proud of this. Not the violent content, but convey the idea. I think they are all actors, so it's fine. So the idea is, once again, what you want between these 4 elements, you have to decide the one who push the stories more than the other. If everything is not clear, since my English skills are so-so, please let me know, raise your hand, and I will clarify more. Okay, so how we proceed, we have to ask 2 questions. When we do game design, basically it's all about these 2 questions, okay? The what and the how. So what is what I want my participant to do, okay? This has to be very clear. I want them to solve that mystery, I want them to enjoy a situation, I want them to go through a story full of plot and plot twist and the discovery and stuff. And once you decide what you want them to do, now you give to provide them the tool to actually do it. And this is a 2-fold process. First one is decide how they want to do, and second, very clear, communicate them what they can do or not do. Once you give them the tool, you have to make them very aware of this tool, which once again is something that is very typical to participatory storytelling, because audience in other experience, they don't care about the tool. What is the tool of a book? Being able to read and turn the page. What is the tool of a movie? Sit down and be focused. In this kind of experience, what I need to do is more complex, and I need more. For example, is before lab usually you have rule explanation or workshop. Before going to a movie, you pay the ticket and you sit down because you already know how to do it. It's a language that we all know, while this kind of language is more rare in our society. Okay, so it's always designed about these two things. And then we have, this is the last part of the presentation, I promise. And then you have to know that when you work in LARP, you have to use these three, to refer to these three pillars. Once again, there is more pillars, I just choose 3 of them for today. So, agency, motive, and alibi. So, agency is very crucial, is what makes a story playable, actually. How we can very quickly define agency is the possibility to act in a decided framework and to have something back from the framework. Otherwise, your action is just meaningless. It doesn't carry on the game. So every time you project, you design your lab, your immersive experience, whatever, every time you have to answer yourself the question: can they do that? If they do that, what happened? If there is no space in your experience for this, be very clear and say to the player, don't do that. Okay? For example,
can you make it just a small post so that I can read that? Can they do that?
yeah, and what happened if they do that? Something actually happened or not? For example, in the last game I did, since some player like a lot to play on competition, I told them, in this bunker there is a president, okay? You cannot contradict the president. I restrained your freedom to give you a better game experience. Why I did it? Because this game, I mean, a game cannot do everything. Okay, like a movie cannot talk about every topic. Okay, if you go to check, I don't know, Hitchcock movie, Alfred Hitchcock movie, what is important is the thrilling, the action, the plot. Okay, and if you go there waiting for a love story, you will be disappointed. Okay, and if you go to a Julia Roberts movie for the big revelation, no, it's a love story. Okay, and so I say in this lab, part of the fun, type 2 fun, is to living under the oppression of a dystopian society. So please don't contradict the power, because simply the game is not follow you in that direction. If you say, President, you are an asshole, and then it's over, you know.
Because actually, like the fiction is quite fragile, and if you break the fiction and the president can't do anything, there's no consequences for doing that. You need to, we call it playing to live. So that,
yes, you will ask player to cooperate to that, and if you want the cooperation to be more effective, tell them straight. Don't do that. Instead of put them in game and hope they are not contradicting the president, just tell them straight. Okay, and then usually this make the work. And on the other side, I say, but don't play on that, but play on that. Because the system is very much under your desire being frustrated. So make big desire, go to the commission and ask them whatever you can do it or not. This will create a lot of situation. Go in this direction is not. It's like giving them a map. West you have this path, east no longer, okay?
What did you say about the tension? Was it about tension?
Tension?
What you want is to give tension?
If you, we creating in games some situation that can produce more game and some other doesn't, okay? So go where it's possible. So make just very clear. And then the motive, also this is very important. Why should I do that? Okay? While in game, what's the reason? I mean, human brain is not made to do things just because. We always need an output, a goal, or whatever it is. So tell them why their character should do that. Okay? For example, I will give you show character for the family dinner game, and you will have to tell your secrets, but I will tell you why, okay, and how. Otherwise, I cannot just give you a character sheet and hope you will understand. We have to be very clear, especially if the game is short. You have to perform this, otherwise the game doesn't work, okay? And then the alibi, this is also very important, is related to safety. Since in LARP you put yourself a lot into the middle of the action, there is a lot of emotion going on, and then also possibility to misunderstanding. In the family dinner, for example, I hate your character so much, I will tell you horrible stuff to you. But we really need to understand that Alessandro doesn't want to do that. It was because of the game. So this is more and more true is if you work with completely stranger. You know, you meet someone for the first time, and in game we are married. Oh, so what we can do, what we cannot do, and also alibi is very fragile thing. We need to be very aware, because on the one hand is the social shield to say, look, I was playing a Nazi, I'm not Nazi at all, but for purpose of the game I have to tell horrible racist things. But also we need to be very aware to not make that be an excuse. I was not me, it was the character. Yeah, but you have to ask an asshole for 3 days, so I don't care what's the character, okay? So you have to be very clear about the limit and what is acceptable and what is not. So we use alibi to that, but we need to be very
Do you do it in like a ritual way? So like do something and then step into character at the end, step consciously out of the character?
It depends on the LARP, but some LARPs, for example, use hours and hours of debrief after the game to de-rolling, put your character on one side and say, okay, the experience is now gone, and slowly come back to who I am 100%, because I was 50-50, let's say, during these 3 days, so I need time. And that's most of the time you get to know the other people in big LARP only at the debriefing, because you met them in character. Yes, there is workshop, but say some of these de-rolling tools, for example, as a first step of tell your real name. Okay, you start by saying, I was playing Robert, my name is Alessandro, and blah 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 blah, and then you discuss, and then you go through all the history. Sometimes you need long debriefing. We are not going to do that today for purpose, and also not all LARP need a big debrief. I mean, the debrief have to be tailored on the experience. You cannot, as safety, you know, you cannot have your pre-made thing. Usually it doesn't work, so have to be included in that. And that was all for this part, okay? This is all the Bulgarian I have. I think it's thank you. If it's wrong, please correct me. Yeah, okay, great. Okay, now we are going to do the impossible task. My plan, I don't know if whether it will work or not, we will see on the go, is what time it is 10. So, it's 10, right?
Yeah.
So, we have 3 hours. And we are going to play 3 games in 3 hours, okay? We can do it. Why 3 games in 3 hours? 3 short games, because I want to show you a game which more rely on character, another game which is more on world building, another game which is more on of mechanics. Okay, the plot is a bit all over the tree. Okay, so are you ready?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Before we start, I usually start with a very stupid and I like very much icebreaker, okay? Which is called the bloody potato, okay? So we move in another area where we have more space, because we need to be silly together to then play a game, okay?
Беше забавно, защото тогава буквално имаше един човек, който първи път имаше разкази и той беше моят специализиран защото си по-пушки и хора се хората с позорите си.
How much was the API?
Okay.
You know,
cracker will
I
behave
can
like
look it up. I gave him my key. Or
You can tell me.
You're familiar with the concept.
It's not much.
But there is some secrets you don't know about potato. When we don't look at them, potato move actually. They walk. Okay? And how a potato walks? This way. They are blind. I never see eyes on a potato, so they're blind. Not all the time. Just old potatoes. We are putting young potatoes. And they move very slow. This is why we never notice them. And they have no arms. So in this game we move this way. This is a potato. Okay? You can move very slow, and you can't see. But life of potato is not always easy. Because among all the potatoes from time to time, basically 10% of potatoes are bloody potatoes. They are killers. We don't know, we eat them all, but inside the potato society, this distinction is very true. And the problem for a potato is if you bounce against a potato, it's totally fine. Okay, I ask you to be my bouncing potato. Okay, we don't look at each other, we don't know, and then we talk and say, what do you know? Okay, and it's fine, just potato. And then you go. But let's do that again. If you are unlucky and you bounce in a bloody potato, and it means that you are dead, okay? And you go out of game. So there will be just potato, and I think 3 bloody potato among us, the statistics, and you just play around. And if you're a bloody potato, your goal is to kill as much as potato as you can. Please keep your eyes closed, don't cheat. If you're a potato, you just live your life and use your ear when you hit bloody potato, of course. You go the other way, you don't want to meet it, okay? So you basically, potato, use the ear, not the eyes, okay? But when you are dead, you are not out of game. You go on the limit of the circle, and you can warn the other potato. And you can warn them by using a very dramatic music, okay? So, if I saw that, for example, Dimitar is a bloody potato, and you are very close, you are about to bounce, I can help you to steer away by doing ding, 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 okay? So you can do this dramatic violin staccato to let no other potato to go away, okay? That's all. When the last potato is alive, I think the game is done, okay? Are you all ready? Yeah. Okay, so, yeah. If you are outside. No. Just zin. And the other 2 things you can say is potato if you're a potato, or bloody potato if you're a bloody potato. They just do bloody potato there. You cannot hit another bloody potato. Special power. Okay, just close your eyes, don't move, and I will tell to someone of you, whisper in their ear that they are a bloody potato, okay? So please, the other, I don't know, make a bit of noise that when you do okay, please stop. And now the game is on. Please. Open your eyes. I will make sure you are not falling. Potato! You have to be loud if you are bloody potato, okay? No, louder. Bloody potato! Zing, 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 bloody potato! Zing, 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 okay, please. No, there is 2 potatoes. Three potatoes.
Zing, 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 zing. Bloody potato. Bloody potato. Very fun because we are on one side, only bloody potato on the other side. Zing, zing. Zing, 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 zing. Oh no! Okay, who is still alive? We have. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Let's go there to play our.
This is.
Okay.
Yeah, but like I couldn't hear you. I couldn't feel you.